Bong Joon Ho's first feature film, Barking Dogs Never Bite, released back in 2000 and is about a man's obsession with a barking dog in his apartment building. He's willing to take drastic action to fix this problem when he should be focusing on other things like his pregnant wife or getting his career as a college lecturer back on track. Bedona, who also stars in The Host, is the custodian of the apartment complex who is helping out to find the missing dogs. Yes, plural, there's multiple ones that end up going missing. I hope you're ready for some dark comedy. Welcome back to Quiet on Set. I'm Ewan and I'm joined by Connor today. This week we're going through Bong Joon Ho's entire filmography, starting with his first feature, Barking Dogs Never Bite. Apart from Tokyo, to which he only contributed a final third of that short film collection, this film is also his least popular one over on Letterboxd. Connor, what do you think? Is this one deservedly underwatched, underseen, or should it be seen by more people?
I think it should be seen by more people. I think this movie is a foundation of his work and what he was going to explore in his later works, especially his exploration of late stage capitalism and how it affects everyday people, working class people, lower class people. These characters, the way they're able to maneuver around the dark comedy sort of tone still keeps like their emotional like self true. Like it doesn't like risk the drama or like, you know, the actual like emotions of these characters for the comedy. It's never going to do that. Now that's what I love about Bong's films in general, but here I feel like it really excels at that.
There's never like a judgmental look at some of the more despicable characters in this. There's like a spoiler warning for the film if you haven't seen it already. I mean, a character like or multiple characters who basically eat dog soup, you know, and a guy that wants to kill dogs just because he doesn't like the barking. Someone who seemingly is only interested in helping someone because she's so fascinated by the potential fame that it might bring to her. But then the characters aren't like reduced down to just being despicable people and look at these disgusting people, but you have a bit of character growth for them. Their shortcomings are like inherently the theme of the movie, and they had their charming sides, their more despicable sides. And to me, what really and you said that like he's setting up stuff that he does quite a bit better in his following features. The use of like staging and blocking, the way that he uses the camera, I love. Not to get too ultra nerdy here, but like his lens usage and how close he gets in the close-ups while not like going full on fisheye. It's technically so well made that I'm so surprised that this is his like debut feature. This doesn't look like a debut feature. Maybe thematically, it is more of like a bit more simpler in what it's like doing story wise, but it's A level when it comes to like all of the technical stuff.
Even the way he shoots like this like apartment complex is like so incredible. Like there's these hallways that look like they're so like they just go on forever. And like, there's just one particular sequence I love. The first character like finds one of the dog corpses and like he's talking about the story with like these construction workers, and it gets closer and closer to his face, and like they leave enough room for like his face in part of the frame, like a super close up part of the frame, as well as the hallway in the background that goes on and on and on. It feels like you're in hell. Like it feels like you're in some kind of underworld or something like that. And like I love how he's able to change up how this apartment complex is shown, whether it be at day and at night. And like just this simple setting is just becomes so like intricate and just such a great setting for this kind of story. Also, I feel like the way he depicts a lot of like lower income areas and like living spaces is like really like, well, I hate to use this word. It's really lived in and just very like authentic.
Yeah.
Despite like how these characters like might be like really, really eccentric and kind of cartoonish at points. And I will mention that as well before I go on. Speaking of the way he shoots this film and edits it, he was inspired by a lot of like cartoons and how characters act in cartoons, so with that when doing the editing,
the door slam running, and like there's a bunch of stuff that is very cartoonish, or like one of the characters losing the binoculars going down, and it's like, oh, and all she's considered is like, oh, her binoculars, which is a funny moment in itself, but it's also speaking to that sort of struggle. And I think the way that he melts that stuff perfectly in Parasite, and that Best Picture win, one of the most popular films on Letterboxd, seen by a ton of people, where he like melts these genres together, where people are like, oh, you can do that this well. You kind of can weave in and out of genres, and he already does that. I think a lot of films do that. It's just like, oh, international theater, bunch of people like, oh, first time I'm seeing that. But here already he makes a pretty thrilling film that is, you're also just like concerned at times that you just don't want a character to do something. There's a certain bit of drama, but it's also very funny. And you shouldn't really be laughing at a bunch of stuff. But again, it doesn't feel, when he does something that is a bit more edgy, it I don't know why, but it doesn't feel like too exploitative. Somehow he like kind of rides that line, kind of care, like, because people are really really iffy as soon as there's like animal cruelty portrayed on screen. People are like, no, I and totally understand if like people don't want to watch this, because dogs get killed in this movie. To me, it was pretty bearable. Like, I don't know, it's something about it was dark, but also had some lighthearted moments in it as well.
Parts of it, I think the way he depicts like poverty and stuff like that is like very different than like the typical poverty. I hate to use this word, but it's like just a phrase. Poverty porn. It's very popular in this kind of like, when you're depicting impoverished people, you're going to like sort of like absorb yourself in those feelings and in this like this setting and everything, and sort of like draw the most emotion out of it possible. But I feel like the way Bong Joon Ho does it, he does it in such an authentic, believable way, where he's like allowing these characters to be so many different things, despite the fact that like they may be presented as like impoverished or having issues with money and stuff like that. They're still like very complex, very intricate people. And no matter how cartoonish the story gets, like the characters, like I said, the characters at the heart of this movie and his movies in general are still like really well written. I feel like the main character of this movie, the actual character that is kidnapping these dogs, there's like certain sequences where he's like talking to his like wife and like wanting to be a teacher so bad. He's wanting to have all this stuff work out for him so badly that like you can see like the origins of like a somewhat of like a good understanding person within him, but obviously he's been forced into being very easily frustrated and just being like on edge constantly, to the point where he's become this person that we see in this movie. Yeah,
it's like on the edge of blaming everyone around him for his issues instead of looking inward. I feel like the way he kind of crumbles under his wife's like simple task that she just wants him to do, and like his value system totally being upside down, that because he's not working, she's working, he can like provide and work and do anything to kind of help out. He's like lashing out in other ways. That sort of insecurity is coming through in a multitude of ways. And then the other character on the other side, like this custodian doing copies, making copies and helping out the dogs, she's very like outwardly living altruistically, I guess, trying to help, but then also has a bit of self-motivation in there. It's a movie that I think what Bong Joon Ho does really well is like the cause and effect sort of storytelling, like a lot of pretty simple setups in a way. Like that's sort of cartoonish thing, you got like a trap set up and ultimately someone is going to step into it. Oversimplified, that's how he does a lot of story beats, and he sometimes subverts your expectations a bit, which is just good filmmaking. And he does that in a variety of ways. In this one, in the way that characters react to certain like truths coming out, the way that we learn more things about them, like the true nature of the janitor or the homeless guy, or even our leads. And it just makes for a pretty entertaining movie.
Lots of crazy hijinks in this movie that could easily, like I said, like I just love. I feel like out of every movie I've seen from Bong, this is the most cartoonish to me. This is the most like comedic to me, even though it has a lot of dramatic moments, a lot of like kind of scary moments.
I mean, it does make sense as someone who has often described that he like Hitchcock, he like draws out all of his movies on storyboards. So it does make sense that like jumping from that like drawn, maybe more cartoonish look onto like the actual scene. It's great to see like early on he already made it work with the people he had on his first feature they returned. You can see the greatness immediately, I think. We're going to answer this question, I think, for every movie that we are going to cover here. Is this his best film?
No.
Okay. But it's still really impressive, I gotta say. Like, for me, it's pretty great still. I'm giving it like an 8 out of 10. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, I would give it an 8 as well. Honestly, I feel like I'd probably feel more positively on it if I rewatched it.
Right.
Because it just, there's so much depth to these characters that I didn't really expect on this watch. If you really love like really crazy, like disturbing dark comedies, this is like a great entry in that kind of like field. Honestly, I will say too, having seen a lot of South Korean movies, especially for the South Korean new wave that started happening in like the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, this is like a great skeleton key into like, not skeleton key, but like a key that opens all things to like the entirety of like the Korean new wave in terms of like a lot of these dark comedies that have these really disturbing premises, but have like genuine emotion and character at their center. I feel like a lot of Park Chan-wook's first movies like are like this as well, and like even like one of my favorite South Korean movies, I think it's being adapted by Yorgos Lanthimos this year, Save the Green Planet, is like this a little bit in terms of like the way these characters are written. So like if you're really interested in exploring South Korean film and the new wave starting off in the 90s, this is a great entry for that.
But yeah, let us know what you thought of it if you've seen it. Again, I think it's worth checking out, and having gone a bit further in our preparation for this review series, I think I can say that pretty much all of his films are worth watching. There's something great about all of them.
He's great.
But we'll see you soon.
See you guys.